Good morning once again.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning, Professor.
How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Professor.
Happy New Year to you too.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
there's a fresh pineapple.
Wonderful. Can someone give us an opening prayer? Opening prayer.
Let me pray.
Go ahead.
Almighty Lord, we want to thank you for the new year. We want to thank you for the course we are undertaking. King of glory, we ask that you guide us. We ask that you lead us. We want to thank you for Professor and Matt, who are our tuition providers. We also pray, Lord, that you will grant us the finances and the time to be able to undertake this monster and clear it come May. We pray for oneness and unity. We pray for good health throughout the semester. And we ask that you will lead and guide us safely, Lord. We pray for excellency at the end of the semester, that we shall all excel and give you all the glory. We thank you. In Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. I'm up country and I'm in a public place. And you're organizing a wedding somewhere. So you'll be disturbed a little bit by background noise, but we can bear with it. Since we are going to take like 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes. Is that okay? Am I loud and clear? Am I loud and clear?
Yes, you are.
So we are here for advanced financial management. It's more of an introduction, paper 15. And I've been in this business since 2018. After I did my advanced financial management paper, I did it in November 2018. And that sitting, I was the prize winner. But I've been in the field, worked for a number of organizations. I've worked for Catholic Relief Services. I've worked for EU projects, and I've also worked for UNDP projects. I concluded my employment at Deloitte and Touche. So today, we are starting with general tips. First of all, you need to set your personalized target to manage the course. Most of you read without a target. If you don't set a target, you'll find it harder. The pass rates were extremely very high. Out of about 500 students, only 51 students passed. That was terrible. You need to give yourself enough time to study. We are calling for a minimum of 2 hours per day. That is studying only advanced financial management. You need 2 hours per day. Meaning that if you have 3 papers, then you multiply the 2 hours by 3 papers. And for you to succeed, because you are employed, balancing work and studies in Uganda is a challenge. That calls for waking up as early as 3 a.m. and you start doing your revision. Yes. Yes. Give me a second. Give me a second. A second. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm disturbed by some DJs. I don't know if you are being disturbed. I want to hear your side. Are you picking some noise?
No.
No.
I continue.
Yeah. Yes, continue.
I continue. I think we
Please
shall manage.
continue.
Since there are no calculations, so there's no need to get worried. So we are saying that you need to set yourself enough time to study. I would insist a minimum of 2 hours per day. This is advanced financial management. It's not FM, but AFM. You need to create a study plan. You need to consider your reading environment, like where I am now. You're organizing some wedding and there's a little bit, the environment is not good, so you cannot study from such an environment. But all in all, when you're preparing to read, you need to have. Someone is wondering whether my volume is low. I don't know what others are saying. Is it my volume that is low or it's yours? Can someone confirm if I'm loud and clear?
You are loud and clear. Let them
Okay.
increase for their gadgets.
All right. So the reading environment, we are still in general tips. We may not have chance to repeat this, but at the same time, you have to have an effective study group. Mark the word effective. Some of you have study groups, but they are not effective. When you're in these groups, you're making noise, you're not reading, you're discussing about election results, etc. But at the same time, you need to have to use active learning techniques. You need to be participatory. While I will be presenting between January and April, or between January and May, I will try to be participatory such that I'm able to pick almost everyone. If we don't go practical, then we're going to have challenges with the paper. The paper shouldn't be hard. The paper shouldn't be hard. What is examinable is something that is within reach, but the paper is just detailed, and we've always had those challenges. You need to do effective reading using the 3Q, using the SQ3R model. There are very many models for effective reading, but I found this one to be a little bit okay. And what do we mean by SQ3R model? This model calls for, the model calls for, the model calls for S is survey or scan what you are going to read. If you're going to read about the cost of capital, then you need to survey and get to know what is this topic, cost of capital, all about? What are the learning outcomes of this topic? Q is questions that are likely to come as you survey or scan the topic, cost of capital. You need to ponder and ask yourself what questions are likely to come from that area. And then the 3R are you have to read, keep on reading, and you have to read. I repeat, you have to read, you have to keep on reading, and you have to read. But in the process of reading, you have to recite what you have read. And at the end of the day, you have to review what you read. Through this, the SQ3R model, we believe it can improve your study and therefore hit the paper with ease. We have found this working, and it has worked for some of us. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in yourself that you will make it. You need to believe yourself that you have fought very many wars. You started from level 1, you went through level 2, and now you are in level 3. Never give up when you are on level 3. You are left with only one level throughout CPA course. But you need to take responsibility for your own learning. Nobody is going to take that responsibility on your behalf. it is you to take that responsibility. Recognize that failure is an opportunity to begin afresh. And when you begin afresh, you do it more intelligently. So when you fail or when you lose a paper, tell your colleagues, especially about the 500 students who lost the paper. They need to come back class. And hence they need to recognize that real failure is an opportunity and they need to begin afresh. And when you begin afresh, you do it more intelligently. And because you'll be stressed, right now, you'll be stressed by your families, you'll be stressed by your children, you'll be stressed by ISPAL, you'll be stressed by elections next week, you'll be stressed by tutors. What we are calling for, you need to invest in stress management. Stress skills. Stress can destroy your reading path, and therefore you might lose the paper. But make sure you cover the whole syllabus. Do not risk and go into the examination without necessarily covering the whole syllabus. I do promise on my part, I'm going to cover the whole syllabus, and I really have the energy and the expertise alongside competence to cover the syllabus. We don't spot teach. We really teach the whole syllabus, and we shall really cover the syllabus. As you read, as you start your journey of advanced financial management, there are tools to use. We are encouraging every student is encouraged to get a copy of the latest past papers. This is a must. You should be able to get these past papers by this weekend. You can get soft copies from the website, but you need to have a scientific calculator and more so learn how to use it. This scientific calculator, you need to get used to it. You should stay with it until you go into the paper, because calculators keep on, different calculators function differently. So you need to stick one calculator in order to understand how to use it. The other tool is to have an examination syllabus. The syllabus was revised and improved. The revised one, I think, was posted in 2023. Ignore the one of 2022, but look at the revised and improved syllabus of 2023. You need to have a smartphone with data, but even if you don't have data, at MAT Abacus, you are aware we give every student data. So that one is not a problem, but you need to have a smartphone that will improve your study. You need to form a WhatsApp group for all students. We have already formed one. And therefore, if you're not on the WhatsApp group, you need to contact the administrators at MAT Abacus such that you are hooked onto this group. But once you're on this group, you need to remain active on the group. We don't discuss political issues. We only discuss relevant material that is related to the course. But more so, if we disagree, if there is a principle or a concept that I've presented to you in class, and we are disagreeing, we have got a website for investors, and it is known as Investopedia. So you can always go to this website and cross-check. If I'm talking about Modiglian and Mira concept, and you have not understood, you can pose a question to Investopedia to explain to you the concepts of Modiglian and Mira. In that way, we shall be able to get more knowledge. I don't encourage you to go to any other websites to look for material. We at MAT Abacus, we shall be able to give you enough materials. So far, am I loud and clear? Hello? So
Yes,
far,
you are.
I continue?
Please continue.
All right, let us look at the syllabus. Let us talk about a little bit about your syllabus. One of the syllabus, the paper is CPA paper 15, an extension of paper 8. And therefore it is assumed most of you are coming from paper 8. Whether you did it 7 years back or you exempted, by the time you exempted paper 8, it means you understand financial management. So paper 15 is an extension of paper 8. The paper has 12 topics. or what we call syllabus areas. And this paper was previously, the topics were 10, but 2 were added on, and now we have 12 topics. The critical topics are capital budgeting, cost of capital, capital structure, corporate restructuring, ethics, and corporate governance. Now, when I say critical topics, you can't miss them in the exam, especially capital budgeting, cost of capital, and capital structure. But in the world of today, corporate restructuring is key. You should also know that 80% of this paper constitute quantitative analysis. When I talk about quantitative analysis, these are computations. 80% of that paper is computation. The theoretical areas where there are no calculations is Islamic finance and corporate governance. Islamic finance and corporate governance will be covered before end of January, such that we start reading and prepare for the exam. That is the only theoretical area, but 80% of the paper is computational. We also have some learning outcomes. You're supposed to evaluate plans, actions, and financial statements. You're supposed to evaluate dividend policies. You're supposed to advise on investment decisions. You're supposed to advise on financing options. You're supposed to make recommendations on restructuring, takeovers, etc. When you look at these outcomes, they are like evaluate, advise, recommend. These are key learning outcomes. You will not be examined on knowledge base or on competence, but you will be evaluating a given scenario. You might evaluate a dividend policy or dividend policies. You will be required to advise. You will be presented a problem, and you will need to advise whether it is an investment decision or financing option. So just get to know this is an advanced level. You are supposed to advise your managers, the board of directors, etc. So we continue looking at these learning outcomes, which are always neglected by most of you. Some of you have been on level 1, been on level 2, but you may find that you have never carefully looked at learning outcomes of each paper. And therefore, as a way of improving our pass rates, it is important we look at these learning outcomes for each paper. In this case, I'm going to look at the learning outcomes of paper 15, Advanced Financial Management. The level of assessment, the examiner is going, the examination will test the learner's synthetic and evaluation skills in financial decision making. When we go back here, you can see it is about evaluate, advise, recommend. And it is coming from that overall, it is coming from the level of assessment. The examination will test the learner's synthetic and evaluation skills. Synthetic analysis is like putting down on paper different components, connecting them. That's why you should be able to make recommendations. You should be able to make, to advise. The examiner will present to you a scenario or scenarios, but in each scenario, there are issues. You will be able to evaluate those issues, but at the same time, once you evaluate those issues, you will need to put down on paper by making recommendations or by advising. And hence, the examination will test the learner's synthetic and evaluation skills in financial decision making. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very key, and take it seriously. Whether there is noise or not, That is very key. The other point, now well, let us look at these learning outcomes. There are 8 according to your syllabus. The first one is evaluate the role of financial management executives in corporate governance. On top of the outcomes are K, C, A, N, then there is S and E. Therefore, with you are not going to be examined. The examiner doesn't expect an outcome on K, C, A, and AN. These were covered, most of them were covered at level 2 and earlier at level 1. Level 2, you should have looked at more of C, A, and AN. But now this is advanced level. You're going to be examined. The outcome the examiner expects is S and E. So outcome 1, evaluate the role of financial management executive in corporate governance. I'm trying to read, someone has posted something here. Someone is saying, Lucky for invited whatever here to record and take notes. I don't know whatever you're meaning, but my volume is clear enough. I hope I'm still loud and clear. Ladies and gentlemen, to pass this paper, you need to pay attention to these learning outcomes. Evaluate the role of financial management executives in corporate governance. And you will be, this is, E is evaluation. 2, evaluate the role of financial market theories and financial securities. Still, the outcome will be, you will be assessed on, it will be an evaluation. That's why you see me putting an X. 3, evaluate the impact of financial decisions on cost of capital. You will still be evaluating. Then 4, evaluate investment decisions and their impact on financial position. Still you are evaluating. Remember earlier here, we go back. I told you the level of assessment. The examination will test the learner's synthetic and evaluation skills are low. You are going to be examined on your understanding on the learner's synthetic and evaluation skills. And that's why you see learning outcome 1, 2, 3, and 4 is all about evaluation. That is the meaning of that E. But now when it comes to 5, it's saying recommend appropriate financing options. That is S, synthetic analysis. Recommend appropriate corporate restructuring strategy. You need to make a recommendation. 7, evaluate. We are going back to evaluation. Financial decisions in the international environment. Ladies and gentlemen, almost every Ugandan is trading international. Whether you're located in Masindi where I am now, you have to mobilize finances internationally. You have to get goods and services from the international market. So here in 7, you will need to evaluate financial decisions in the international environment, whether it is an investment appraisal or dividend policies, but we shall go international, and that will be an evaluation. And then 8, assess the appropriateness of Islamic financing to an investment. So we go back, the level of assessment, the examination will test the learner's synthetic and evaluation skills. Those words, you will not survive them, and hence the learning outcomes. These learning outcomes are provided to you in the syllabus. That's why I pick them. But most of you go into the exam without understanding. So these other letters, K, C, A, N, it is what do they mean? So this is where I'm explaining the learning outcomes. K, knowledge level. Can you recall or recognize what you have read? The doing verb could be defined. They will ask you to define, identify, describe, or state. At level 3, you will never be examined on knowledge level. C is comprehension level. Understanding. Did you read and internalize what you read? Can you read and internalize what you have read? The doing verb here is articulate, explain, demonstrate, classify, interpret, etc. A is application level. Can you use the information? The doing verb would be apply, calculate, illustrate, manipulate, solve, etc. And AN is analysis level, breaking down the materials you have read into something useful. And the doing verb here would be appraise, compare, differentiate, organize, etc. But since you're on level 3, you have already gone through level 1 and level 2 where you met the K, the knowledge level, the comprehension level, application level, and analysis level. Now you're moving into advanced level where you're going to do the synthesis, the synthetic level, which requires you to make recommendation, which requires putting down what you have computed. You have analyzed the problem. You have come up with the solutions, put it down. In other words, connecting the pieces together. And the verbal words here could be arrange, devise means, modify, or formulate. But it's all about making recommendations or advising management. And E is evaluation level, whereby you need to make some judgment. That's why when you look at these outcomes, they are like evaluate the role of financial management. Evaluate the role of financial market theories. Evaluate the impact of financial decision on cost of capital. Evaluate investment decisions. They are not going to tell you to calculate. They are not going to tell you to analyze. They are not going, but once they tell you to evaluate, then you need to go through the case scenario and see what you should do with that case. You identify the problems. If they require some computations, you'll be able to compute them. At the end of the day, you'll recommend or put together those pieces such that you are able to advise and make recommendations. Give me a second. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have been bypassing these learning outcomes, they are available for every paper and they are published in the syllabus. In the syllabus, you need to, but me, I've picked them out for paper 15, advanced financial management. And life should be good. If you pay attention to these learning outcomes, then you will find it easier. I still insist the level of assessment, the examination will test the learner's synesthetic and evaluation skills in financial decision making. When we are teaching here advanced financial management, we look at you as a finance director of any company. We look at you as a CFO of that company. And therefore, you're supposed to evaluate and make financial decisions for that company. Am I loud and clear? Am I making sense to you? Can someone say something funny?
Yes, you're making sense.
I continue. The examination structure. Let us look at the examination structure. The structure of your examination, it has 2 sections. You are aware of that. There is section A, which is compulsory 50 marks. When you look at any particular question paper, section A, which is 50 marks, 60% is computational, while 40% is theoretical. Section B has 3 optional questions. You will be required to attempt 2. and each will be taking 25 marks. For section B, each question, 50% is computational and 50% is theoretical. To pass this paper very well, you need to understand the theories or the theory surrounding each topic. It is the theory that will bail you out. Computations remain computations. You should be able to know questions are scenario-based. Right from question 1 up to the last question, they are scenario-based. You need to evaluate the scenarios, and at the end of the day, you need to advise or make recommendations. And hence, that's why we're saying students to evaluate and advise management or board. That's how that paper is going to be examined, whether you like it or not. That's what the examiner puts into consideration. What is the examiner expecting from you? The examiner expects you to compute and analyze the results, recommend strategies. He will not ask you to define. The examiner expects you to write a report. But because writing a report is a little bit complicated, a memo format will be expected, or we can go by the memo. When he tells you to write a report and you do a memo, he will accept that. It is easier, since you are doing a manual paper, to do a memo format as opposed to doing a report. You are expected to provide workings at the end of the reports. So for each question, you will be writing a report. But at the end of that report, you need to attach annexes or appendices, which we call workings. Because each question is made up of a computation, 50%, and the theoretical area, which is 50%. So together, you put that in a report form. As you put together in your report, the workings or the annexes will appear at the end of the report. You are expected to evaluate investment decisions, financing options, dividend policies, restructuring strategies. You will not survive. You will not survive if you can't evaluate investment decisions. You will not survive if you can't evaluate financing options. You will not survive if you can't evaluate dividend policies. You will not survive if you can't evaluate restructuring strategies. But at the same time, the examiner expects students to report on ethics and governance. And when we're talking about ethics, this is where issues of fraud, conflict of interest, money laundering, company policies will be examined. This is always a theoretical area. Even if there are 6 to 8 marks, it is important you capture them all. If you don't put this together, you will not pull through. It is always important. The examiner expects you to identify relevant information. There is no way you will evaluate an investment appraisal unless you identify relevant information. Once you identify relevant information, it helps in correct computations, which form a basis for decision making. If you can't pull out the relevant information, especially when you're dealing with capital budgeting, you lose it all. So when we are teaching, when we are lecturing, you need to hear me out when I'm arguing about relevant information. It will not be like level 2 where this is direct, but we shall discuss. The examiner expects you to write well. There has been a complaint. Some of you have got botanical handwritings. Reading your work is completely it's a problem. So we expect you to be neat. Neatness attracts attention of the marker. Most ladies write very well, but writing very well does not help you. You must be able to write what makes sense. As such, you will be expected to present your first homework. It must be handwritten. Do not type it. I expect you to present your first homework next week. But next week, after elections, I'm going to give you the homework today. Because today is a Saturday, therefore I expect you next weekend to provide your handwritten homework. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Am I making sense to you?
You are making sense.
We are about to end. Still, the examiner expects you to make professional presentations. And professional presentation attracts professional marks. The examiner will just throw for you some 1 or 2 marks. It can pull you from 49 to 50. The prize winner for May 2024, Joy Birungi. She wrote so well, with clarity, good handwriting. She got over 75%, and the person who followed her had like a 60. But most of her work was good professional presentation. You need to attempt the required number of questions. If the examiner says attempt 3 questions, don't do 2. You need to attempt the 3 questions. It helps you to spread the risk of misfiring. There is a lady who lost this paper last sitting. I think she concentrated more on question 1. And she had very little time for section B. And she ended up attempting 1 question in section B, which she ended up misfiring. Therefore, when you attempt the required number of questions, the pass mark can easily be achieved. Take note, please. You are expected to report on modern issues in financial management, things like Islamic finance, which is qualitative and factual. Straightforward. The questions are always straightforward, especially in Islamic finance. And therefore, I expect you to pick these marks and move on. Is paper 15 relevant to you? Is it relevant in today's world? Is it relevant to what you do? Is it relevant to your company? Yes, paper 15 is relevant. The relevance of paper 15, it will help you in evaluation of investment decisions. Wherever even you are struggling now to improve your wealth by carrying out proper evaluation investment decisions. Capital budgeting forms the most costly decisions of every organization, and therefore you need to make good evaluations, and therefore this is very relevant to our life. It fits well with current business environment, which is characterized by takeovers and mergers. You are hearing of, for example, Abacus took over MAT. We are seeing NCB Bank was merged with the NCB Bank merged with the CPA Uganda, and they formed 1 company. We are seeing things like, I think, is it Mutual Trust merging with certain insurance companies. We saw Barclays, ABSA Bank taking over Barclays, etc. These are issues. This is the environment we are in today. We have conventional banking versus Islamic banking. We have issues of high interest rate in Islamic banking. There is no interest rate. So we need to, these things, once we learn them, they are extremely relevant to our environment, and hence the relevance of paper 15. However, most of us, we are trading. Most companies have shifted to international trade. And once you shift to international trade, you need to hedge against forex risks. You need to hedge against interest rate risks. Political risks has become critical. This man called Baram had invested in Southern Sudan. At one time, his factory was taken by a general until President Museveni intervened. But if you are a normal mwananchi and you are not known by General Muhoozi and you invest in Southern Sudan, your factory will be taken. Those are political risks. So since now we are dealing with international trade, We need to find a way and learn. You will not survive this. How do we hedge against foreign exchange risks? How do we hedge against interest rate risks? You have been hearing this problem of harm. He went and borrowed money from DTB Kenya. You have heard about this man called Bitature. He went and borrowed money in South Africa and he's still in court. How do we manage those issues? You need to finance big projects, which is forcing companies to go and borrow. The case of harm, the case of Bitatura and many others. But at the same time, knowledge of cost of debt and the impact of gearing. The word gearing is the level of debt you use in your company. A man like Bitatura is highly geared. So you need to know before you borrow what is the cost of that debt. You will not dodge these things in the exam. You need to understand them. This is the heart, whereas capital budgeting is the heart of the paper. But these are critical topics you need to know, whether you like it or not. Studying corporate governance is important, as poor corporate governance is cited in the collapse of many companies, including Barings Bank in Britain. It collapsed. You can always Google and read about Barings Bank. It was one of the big banks which started in 1900 there, earlier than that, but it collapsed. In Uganda here, we have the International Credit Bank, which collapsed because of poor corporate governance. We have got Greenland Bank. Some of you do not know about that. Crane Bank collapsed because of corporate governance. Recently, we had problems with NSSF. It didn't collapse, but you had those problems. Enron in America. Why did these corporations fall when they were big? Because of poor corporate governance. And therefore, the examiner expects you to study corporate governance, especially you as an accountant, because most of us accountants neglect corporate governance. We want to focus more on numbers, but forget these corporate governance issues. Why do students fail advanced financial management? There are very many reasons, but my research indicates failure to read and effectively understand the requirements of the questions. Some of you, when the examiner presents you a blue paper, because you come from a yellow clan, you are hit by that, and therefore you don't understand to read. You don't read very well those questions. When you read, you don't understand what do the questions require. Poor time management, this has been our biggest problem. Paper 15, our biggest challenge is poor time management. Over concentration on a few questions. Attempting less than a required number of questions. Inadequate preparations. Both students and the lecturers do not cover at least 80% of the syllabus. Especially most of you keep on loitering from lecturer 1 to lecturer 2, lecturer 3. Even if you keep on loitering like that, most of them do not cover at least 80% of the syllabus. I promise you at MAT, we have a contract to deliver. We are going to cover 100% of the syllabus. But you as a student, you also need to read. Remember the the SQ3R model. You have to read, and read. But as you read and read and read, you need to recite, then review what you have read. So you need to cover more than. The word at least means more than. You need to cover at least 80% of the syllabus. If you do 40%, you will come back. Why students fail? Students have scanty knowledge on many syllabus areas. Failure to revise CPA 15 in line with the learning outcomes. Earlier, I talked about the learning outcomes. Some of you are seeing them for the first time. You need to understand the meaning of those learning outcomes. The examiner will examine you based on those learning outcomes. I've already cited the poor handwriting. I will not change it now, but some of your handwritings are so botanical that even Jesus will cry when he comes back. Substandard presentations, it's a bigger challenge. Even at MBA, I see it. Someone is doing an MBA paper, is a profession, is a CEO of a company, but the presentation is extremely lacking. Lack of professional flow in solutions presented. They are not actually making any sense. There is that we need to have a mindset. We need to change our thinking, shift from the bachelor's degree and move to professional courses. The professional course requires more. It requires skills. Bachelors use more of test and coursework to survive. That's not the case with CPA. Spot reading. It is a common behavior amongst yourselves. You spotted something in MDC and you passed. You think that if you will spot something in financial management and survive, that is out. You need to understand all the areas. Some areas are always neglected. When I start gearing and de-gearing, talking about alpha, beta, the beta factor, some of you will begin saying those areas are hard. When I'm talking about forex hedging, interest rate hedging, you'll begin neglecting those areas. When you go to the exam, those are the areas you're gonna find, and you'll get problems. Failure to identify the relevant cash flows. Hello. When you're dealing with capital budgeting, you need to identify relevant cash flows. If you don't identify relevant cash flows, you will perish. And once you perish the first time, you will pass the paper the fifth time. Me, I've told you, because your paper is scenario based, you have to identify relevant cash flows, especially for question 1. You have to identify those relevant cash flows. We also we have been seeing a challenge of wrong choice of questions attempted. There was a problem in November 2019. People were rushing for question 3, yet there were other questions which were extremely better than question 3. Because you have learned about portfolio theory and it has come, you believe you should attempt it, yet you may find along the path there are other better questions. Any questions at this stage? Any comment? Can 1 or 2 people comment or ask a question before I close today's class? That is if you are still there. Are people still there?
Yes, Professor.
Make a comment, ask a question before I proceed.
Thank you for the guidance, Professor.
Okay, another comment? Someone is asking, is there need to also buy the iSpower book? No. That is wastage of money. You can use it for that money to do other things. At MAT Abacus, we are going to give you reading materials, and I will give you a workbook, which workbook covers the syllabus, and I will be using that workbook. What you need to support the workbook with is the question bank. Once you get the question bank, make sure you get the solutions. Any other question?
Where are we going to get the solutions from?
Pardon?
The solutions. Some of
The
them
solutions
are
are on the
not
internet.
Not all of them.
You get from the recent years. I'm going to guide, I think later there's a slide. You need to get question banks from 2019 to present. Those solutions are there. I wouldn't encourage you to go to questions below earlier than 2019 in November. They were a bit shallow. That is the old syllabus. They were quite weak. That was the syllabus then. Another question? Someone saying, is there need to also, that one I've already answered. What other questions? Ask more questions. More questions? Okay. Any other comment? Yes?
I have a question outside this. Is the workbook provided to me before I make full payment? Like when
that
I
one
make
cannot
partial
happen.
payment? Okay.
You need to make some partial payments. I think when you contact the administrator, he will tell you what percentage. I think when you do 50%, that is a good commitment. You can receive the workbook. but I don't have conclusive information on that. You will need to talk to the administrator, Mr. Richard Asaba, or Godfrey, or Mr. Onanda Richard. They will be able to reply you. But I think a commitment of 50% is good enough to receive the worker book. You need to have the worker book starting next week because I teach using that worker book. Don't look for any other study materials. Use the worker book I give you. You will enrich the worker book by downloading past papers and the marking guide. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, Professor.
Any other question? The syllabus, these are the areas you are the detailed syllabus, but this is not detailed, it's summarized. You are expected to cover corporate governance, financial market theories, and financial security. So you will observe corporate governance was not talked about. Corporate governance was not talked about in financial management. It's a new topic here. But if you have already finished the other paper of strategy, maybe you made some corporate governance there. We are going to cover capital budgeting. Capital budgeting will take us about a month or 1 month and a half learning that capital budgeting. Cost of capital and capital structure goes alongside capital budgeting. You will be expected to learn dividend policy, portfolio theory. At FM, you learn risk and return. But we shall be advancing that to look at portfolio theory. Then we shall continue to G, study the capital asset pricing model, which you have never seen. Then you'll be able to look at corporate restructuring. But I'm commenting corporate restructuring, the business valuation was removed from advanced level and taken to financial management. But I will be able to recap on business valuations as it is at level 2 because the examiner can examine anything from level 2. You need to learn derivatives. These are hedging methods on how you hedge against interest rate fluctuations, currency fluctuations. You need to read about multinationals and international trade. We shall study about international markets and then Islamic finance. However, I will not go by that order. I think when we meet, even today, we'll talk about corporate governance. And in 2 weeks' time, you'll be able to learn Islamic finance. So take note, that is your syllabus. Refer to detailed syllabus as provided by ISPAO, a revised copy of 2023, page 179 to 188. The study book and the study book we provide. The study book we provide follows the syllabus. Let me read, someone has posted something. Someone is saying, what percentage of tuition must I have paid to access the study kit? I really do not know. Me, my work is to lecture, but I believe it should be around 50%. What was the other theory topic other than Islamic finance? I said governance. However, you should also know every topic has some theory. You cannot rush into a competition without understanding its theory, which theory will be examined. If I'm going to talk about cost of capital and capital structure, I need to talk about theories like the Modiglian and Miller, which is theoretical, and then give you his assumptions on the cost of capital and the capital structure, and then we proceed. Another question? So you need to go to page 179 up to page 188 of your syllabus that was issued in The syllabus was issued in 2022, but revised in 2023 or published in 2023. And we will receive a worker book prepared by myself, and it's what I will be following page by page. Any questions here? Any comment? You should be able to know at advanced level, all your questions are scenario based. And because it is a case study, question 1 will be 50 marks, question 2 will be 25 marks, question 3 will be 25 marks, etc. But any scenario-based question, when you are approaching it, you need to understand the task beforehand. You need to understand that case study. What is it all about? In that case study, they will be presenting to you problems. So you need to identify the main problems. You will need to analyze those problems. And then you will develop and evaluate solutions. You will conclude by making recommendations. If you can't identify those problems in the case, you will perish. Pitfalls to avoid. Sporting, stop sporting. Sport reading is not encouraged or advised. Cramming, you'll never cram here. If I'm talking about Modiglian and Miller theory and its assumptions, understand what was his concern, what is he all about, the Modiglian and Miller. If I'm talking about the capital asset pricing model, if I'm talking about portfolio theory, what are the issues, what are the concerns? The other pitfall to avoid is failure to cover the syllabus. Failure to dedicate enough time for revision. Some of you want to revise for 2 days or 3 to go into and move into the examination. That is out. Failure to find out why one failed. If you can't find out why you failed, a solution will never be got. But if you find out why you failed, a solution will be got. You need to join effective discussion groups. Mark the word effective. There are some groups which are useless. They are there discussing, eating about kafajavas, KFC. They are always there to MAT. We see them. They think they are the only ones with money. Even if you are planned wives or your planned kids, everybody is able to survive. Failure to know or learning outcomes of the subject. I've already presented thoroughly the learning outcomes of this paper. You need to understand them. Failure to know the principles on which that subject is best. Failure or refusal to attend the lecture classes. Some of you already bringing guess that you read, you attended the last year, and possibly now you read go back to class. If you lost a paper, tell your colleagues to come back. Then some of you did this paper 10 years back and now you want to recite it with your old materials. That is out. Get the copies we are providing to you. They are updated. Don't bring your old materials. Even old people eat fresh food. So with you, while you are young, why are you using old materials? Bakuloga, what's your problem? The way forward. Pay attention to neatness, organization, and structure of your answers. You need to be clean. Some of you dress so smartly in class and you cause problems at MAT there. But we want you to carry forward that smartness and neatness onto your answer sheet and structure your answers very well. Your answers must relate to the scenario in question. Generic answers, what I call ETC answers, will never be accepted in this paper called Advanced Financial Management. These ETC answers, if I've taught you about financing options and you begin bringing issues like personal finance, that is out. Use your exam time effectively. Make sure you attempted the required number of questions within the 3 hours provided to you. Attempt the required number of questions. Read all notes as provided by the lecturer, whether you like it or not. You need to start early, giving the paper a minimum of 2 hours per day, starting tomorrow or starting on Monday. I'm going to give you homework. So you will need to attempt all homework we give you. If we have planned any tests, attempt them. This is the paper where people out of 50 or 100, when we give you tests, only 2 attempt. We really do not know why you dodge tests. You don't want to do coursework. Who are you? In the exam, don't die once. Try out something. Let us see how you answer. We help you to correct what you do. Develop a sound knowledge of the entire paper 15 syllabus. Practice with exam questions and exam conditions. to build efficiency. You cannot practice past paper questions when you're taking KFC. And you need to focus more especially on those past papers from November 2019 to December 2025. Those past papers, they have solutions on the web. You need to show workings. You earn professional marks even if there are no numerical, even if there are numerical errors. If you made a computation which actually is not correct, but it was flowing professionally, you will be given some marks. We have seen these things happen. Avoid expecting miracles. Because you are a fanaro or someone, you going to pray morning and evening, whatever you sleep in church, these things never expect miracles. When you're studying advanced financial management, your prayers will not help you. You only pray to be healthy. You pray to survive accidents. You pray to go and do the paper. But don't expect miracles. Avoid expecting favors from the examiners and ISPA. Some of you believe you know examiners. Those people who present in the engagement papers, some of them are examiners. Because you know them, you think you will get favors. Forget, that will not happen. Stop blaming anybody when you fail. When you fail a paper, you begin blaming lecturers. You move from lecturer A to lecturer B. You will end up getting confused. It is always important you find out why and start afresh. Why did you fail? How can you be helped? Approach us on one by one, one-on-one. There is a need for mindset change. Differentiate between academic and professional studies. Professional studies, this is skill-based. It requires your time. It requires your analysis. You need to evaluate scenarios and make recommendations. You need to attend all lectures and sessions, whether you like it or not. If you miss a live presentation, follow the recording immediately. Do your coursework, do the tests and mock exams. Use up-to-date reading materials. Any questions at this stage? Any questions or any comment? Can someone, 2 or 3 people comment what you have picked from my presentation so far? No man? Okay, we start with Maria.
To try and attempt all tests, to practice,
Wonderful.
to give
Wonderful.
2 hours every day to reading.
Wonderful, wonderful. Where are you listening in from?
Kitaitika.
Ah, is that a Luganda word? Kitaitika. Where is that? Where is that on Uganda?
On
Where is
Gaza Road.
this KFC Muchomo?
Yes, around there. But I'm not at
Towards
KFC, I'm at
Kumbuzi.
home. Yes.
Another person?
Yes, Professor, you have said that we should have knowledge on everything that you've taught.
Wonderful, wonderful. Where are you commanding from?
From Kachiri.
Wonderful, wonderful. Another person? Miam in Masindi?
Okay, Professor, thank you.
Go ahead.
And it has been a fruitful event or discussion. And some of us, I for one, I sat the paper in December, it didn't come out. And like you've guided, it's better to come back to class because we may presume that we shall use the knowledge we attained, but the reasons we failed, you might have already forgotten the thing, so it's better to come back to class. So,
Norman, thank you for being truthful and thank you for coming back. That is normal. It is very normal to come back. Very good, wonderful, Obgalo. That is okay. Come back and attend. And expect not to bring the prize. Okay?
yeah,
I
for one, I'm
give
coming back.
200,000 to a prize winner.
So generally, I've learned some mistakes I made from last sitting, and I'm going to work on them.
Thank you.
Otherwise, thank you very much.
Yes, our prize winner got 65 or 66, 65%. We are going to give him a cash prize of 200,000. Even in financial management, we had a prize winner, and we shall also give her a prize of cash prize of 200,000. So once you bring the prize, I give you cash of 200,000. Agnes Atiang, you want to say something? Kennedy? Walter, say something?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
This is Matthias Okongo. You also said we should not use outdated materials.
Wonderful.
For purpose of revision, questions should start from November 2019 until December 2025.
Wonderful. Where are you commanding from?
I'm in Abim right now.
How is Abim?
Abim is fine, Professor.
Are the soils there very fertile?
Yeah, very, very, very fertile.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Any last person to make a comment?
Professor,
Yes.
I'm inquiring. You've said that we should not use outdated material now for us who are redoing. Me, I did December and I failed. So should we use the same books or we have to
Yes,
come and get
that book will still work. So what you will
Okay.
do, you'll go to MAT, you tell them to give you that discount, such that the money you pay, they don't include the fee for the book.
Yes, Professor.
It is the same book we are going to use. I've not
Thank you.
updated it. It is okay. It is still very okay. Doreen, thank you for speaking the truth and telling us you are sitting. It is very normal and we encourage that. We encourage that. Come back. Tell your colleagues to come back. Another person?
Thank you, Professor, for your guidance. I've benefited from your guidance.
From where?
First FM level 2 with your lectures, and I
My
hope
name
you
is
also
Julius.
participate.
Go ahead.
I'm saying, Professor, thanks so much for your guidance.
Okay.
I have benefited so much.
Wonderful. Let us continue. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I give you a chance to talk or to speak or say something, speak. Because when we start the main topics, there are those topics where you will not say anything. So when I'm dealing with these small issues and I give you a chance to talk. Have you heard? Conclusions. We haven't concluded, but I'm just concluding what I've been talking about. You need to start by believing that you can do it. Otherwise, you will not commit yourself to it. If you don't believe that you can do it, you will never commit time to do it. You need to start reading early enough all your reading materials. And towards the exams, meaning that towards the exam, you will do effective revision because you have been reading your materials very well. It is always advisable to practice past paper questions so that you can get a feel of the style and format. Therefore, I command you, this weekend, you look for any paper, either the one for May or August 2025, just read through to see how it is. A hard worker can defeat even the most talented. Failure is glorious, and life will always begin when fear stops. But remember, a cow does not give milk. Who can explain it to us? What do I mean by that? What do we mean by a cow does not give milk? Can someone open it up for us? What do I mean? I'm waiting.
Professor, can I try?
Go ahead.
Yes, I believe a cow's milk is according to the cow, the milk is solely for its calf. But it is a human being who goes and get the milk from the cow. So if you don't get it,
Wonderful.
you won't have it.
Wonderful. You want to repeat it again?
Yes, the cow's milk is available only for its calf, but it's a human being who goes and get the milk from the cow. If you don't get it, then you won't have it.
Does that make sense to our paper?
Very.
Another
If
person?
we don't read, we don't attend lectures, then we don't have anything to
You are
to
a
write
true
in.
son of your father. You are a
Thank
true
you.
son of your father. Thank you. You have solved my problem. Any other comment? Maria?
It calls for practice also, because when a human is picking milk from the cow, they have to put in a little more energy and more time. Yes.
Wonderful. Is it making sense to our paper? Doreen, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. We have to put in our efforts according to that, because for the cow, if you don't feed it, it won't give you milk. So if we don't read, there's no way we can pass.
In other words, a cow does not give milk. You have to wake up in the morning to milk the cow. And that's more effort is required. Similarly, if you want to pass this paper, you have to wake up early in the morning and read. As early as 4 a.m. and read before going for work. Nobody has ever been fired. I've never heard of that statistics. I've never heard of anybody who has been fired because he was dozing at the place of work. So as we prepare to go home, I have some simulations. Simulation 1, you need to carry out this activity. I'm illustrating that you need to go and look at this. You go and look at past papers for May 2025, August 2025, December 2025, and populate this template. I have already populated for question 1, August 2025. The examiner required you an evaluation of a project using IRR. There was a question on a lease or buy. Then he wanted you evaluation of 3 projects with different lifespans using EAB and or ESC. He wanted the drawbacks of using Islamic banking, and he wanted assumptions of urgency theory and its relevance. Now, when you look at the question 1 of December 2025, he wanted you compute the cost of capital. And there was a question of computing NPV using equivalent annual benefit. Equivalent annual benefit is EAB. There was a question on asset replacement cycle. He wanted risks and liabilities in using Ijara, an Islamic finance product. And he wanted roles and responsibility of using non-executive directors. When I compare these two, you see that in red is similar that in blue. The question that was examined in December 2025, the blue part using equivalent annual benefit, I think took 20 marks. It is the same as that question that appeared in August 2025 when he said evaluate the 3 machines or 3 projects using of different lifespans using EAB. In this case of August 2025, he did not tell us which tool to use, but we shall learn that once you find that the time periods are different, the only tool to use is equivalent annual benefit or equivalent annual cost. So when you do this and analyze last year, you can start reading and preparing for the examiner very well. You want to do a screenshot? of this page or this slide? Can someone confirm that you have written, you have taken the format, or you have done a screenshot? You can do a screenshot and put it on our group, because I expect you this weekend to do that analysis. Am I understood? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Kiri, I move on. I go to the next slide. I'm about to conclude. I need like more 10 minutes.
Yes, please.
Yes, Professor.
All right. That is homework number 1. Don't bring it back for marking. That one doesn't require marking. It is for your own good. I want to talk about a little bit, to introduce a little bit ethics and corporate governance, which particularly appear in the exam and more so in question 1. It can give us up to 8 marks, and therefore we should not lose the 8 marks. What is corporate governance? Corporate governance is the set of processes, customs, policies, laws, and institutions affecting the way a corporation is directed, administered, or controlled. There is a full stop there. That is the definition of corporate governance. How do we run a company better? Whether it is a parastatal is a government company corporation, whether it is an agency, whether it is a company, whether it is an SME. In all these, we need to practice corporate governance. Corporate governance, failure of corporate governance has been cited as the major hindrance or as a major problem why most companies don't grow, why companies are getting challenges. Corporate governance also includes the relationships among the many stakeholders involved and the goals for which the corporation is governed. The principal stakeholder as the shareholders, management, and the board of directors. We put all these together under or into what we call corporate governance, and hence the definition. Corporate governance is the set of processes, customs, policies, laws, and institutions affecting the way a corporation is directed, administered, or controlled. Take the definition today. That is a boardroom. Whenever we're talking about governance issues, they must be discussed in a boardroom. Corporate governance involves ensuring the effectiveness of risk management and internal controls, accountability to shareholders and other stakeholders, and conducting business in an ethical and effective way. Corporate governance is the system by which organizations are directed and controlled. Can you cite any company in Uganda that has collapsed as a result of ethical related issues? Because we are saying corporate governance involves ensuring the effectiveness of risk management and internal controls, accountability to shareholders and other stakeholders, and conducting business in an ethical and effective way. Do you know of any company in Uganda that was not conducting its business in an ethical and effective way and it collapsed? Or it is about to collapse? Anybody who can make a comment? Why do you think Greenland Bank collapsed? Why do you think
Uganda
there was
Telecom.
Pardon?
Uganda Telecom.
Uganda Telecom. Telecom is still surviving. Another? But ethical issues are there, you are right. Governance issues are there. Crane Bank, this is a good example. Crane Bank is a good example. We had a company known as MTK. Has anybody heard of a company known as MTK? MTK. It was headquartered somewhere on Nkrumah Road. It was supplying animal vet drugs, animal drugs. But someone called Nakalema discovered government had given them a contract to supply some vet drugs to Sembabule district. I think to kill ticks or some acaricides that disturb those animals. But when that woman called Nakalema investigated, the drugs were not proper. They claimed to have imported them from Kenya. The Kenyan company said, no, those drugs didn't originate from us. The MD was jailed, and I think the chairman board died during COVID, and the company collapsed, and even you cannot see its any signpost around. That is corporate governance. You need to run your business in an ethical way and be accountable to all stakeholders and shareholders. What are the key pillars of corporate governance? These can be examined. The rights of shareholders. Details of these are provided in the workbook. Shareholders' rights must be protected at all times. Equitable treatment. Corporate governance should ensure the equitable treatment of all shareholders and stakeholders. Transparency and disclosure. Corporate governance should ensure that timely and accurate disclosure is made on all material matters regarding the company. Role of the board. These are pillars, very key. The framework for provision of strategic guidance to the company. The board should be able to provide strategic guidance and oversight to the company. Board size and composition. There must be an optimal number given the size and the nature of business. If a company like MTN recruiting over 1,000 employees, why should it have a board of directors who are 2 or 3? Executive compensation is another pillar. We should be able to give performance-based remunerations to board members. We don't want to hear these things like URA when they won a case against Talo and the president was the one deciding how much to give them. Performance-based remuneration is better as opposed to one person deciding it. We also have a key, we have got a number of elements in corporate governance. We are saying the management reduction of risk is a key issue in all definitions of good governance. Management should always manage risk and should always fight to reduce it. If possible, eliminate it. In Uganda, we have a risk of corruption, but you see, there is no effort being done. When we get people who are fighting corruption, they are always removed from their positions. The other element is the notion that overall performance is enhanced by good organization structures and management practice. Every company must have a good organizational structure, and management practice should be within best practice guidelines. And when we talk about best practice guidelines, these are things that have worked in other companies or in other countries, and we believe that if we use them, they can actually help us. Good governance provides a framework for an organization to pursue its strategy in an ethical and effective way from the perspective of all stakeholder groups. A company must be run ethically. That's what good governance is calling about. Accountability is always a major issue. And therefore, it is a major theme in all governance frameworks. So these are part of the early introduction points under corporate governance. When we meet next weekend, we shall be able to talk more about governance and what are other things the examiner expects you to learn. We also have governance codes of good practice. The board should be responsible for taking major policy and strategic decisions. Directors should have a mixture of skills or a mix of skills, and their performance should be assessed regularly. Appointments should be conducted by formal procedures administered by a nomination committee. There must be division of responsibilities at the head of an organization, and there must be independence of non-executive directors. But also, directors' remuneration should be set by a remuneration committee, not only one person deciding how much to pay the directors. There must be a remuneration committee that will always be made up of non-executive directors. Non-executive directors, these are part of directors, but they are not part of the company. They are not shareholders, but they have been brought on board because of their skills and expertise to help in redirecting the company. That's why in point 3 here that we are saying appointments should be conducted by formal procedures administered by a nomination committee. A nomination committee will always endeavor to make sure that we have got some non-executive directors on board. We don't want relatives, cousins, and brothers to be the only people to run the company when you're going to use public funds or monies of other people. We have got some companies that have failed. Enron was one of the biggest companies in America. It collapsed. It was being audited by Arthur Andersen. By then, Arthur Andersen was world's #1 audit firm. But there is a way they were playing around the accounts and manipulating the share price of Enron, such that shareholders keep on putting in money. When it was discovered, Enron collapsed, even Arthur Andersen collapsed. Earlier I had mentioned Barings Bank in Britain. There was a little bit of manipulation with the share value in Singapore by one person known as Lee. It led to the collapse of Barings Bank in Britain. In Uganda, we have got issues like the International Credit Bank. The owner of this International Credit Bank was called Kato. I think Thomas Kato. That Mzee Kato died. But his son, called also Kato, a rally driver, was the MD. Those were the people running the bank. There was also another Kato. Those were the celebrities of that time, around 98, 99, 2000, before the bank collapsed. But now when you see the father and the son is running the company, one is the chairman, the other is the managing director, and yet you are dealing with public funds, things are expected not to be good. We have got a case of Greenland Bank in Uganda, which was being headed by a man known as Kigundu Sulaiman, a PhD holder in economics, a one-time governor Bank of Uganda. I think those years of 86, 87, I'm not sure which period, but he was a governor Bank of Uganda, formerly professor of economics at Makerere University, a strong Muslim, but he had very many things that were not presented on the balance sheet. And accordingly, it led to the collapse of Greenland Bank and the Greenland Empire, and he ended up dying. The Cooperative Bank, the same issue. What is still fresh in us is Crane Bank. UTL has been having problems. NACUMAT collapsed in Uganda because of corporate governance. The list can go on and on and on. So corporate governance is very key. Let him first read someone's message. I think someone is talking about Crane Bank. So corporate governance has been cited as one of the major areas that are affecting corporations. And in order to address that, when you are doing audit and ethics, you must have heard about Canterbury report. When many corporations were collapsing in America or Britain, one person, a committee was formed and was headed by a man known as Canterbury, and he came up with a number of recommendations on how corporations must be governed. In South Africa, at the height of apartheid, a South African judge known as King, his committee came up with recommendations on how corporations must be guided and run. He formally came up with King Report 1, which has been improved King Report 3. In your free time, that will not be examined, but just to know a little bit of corporate governance, you might need to read about King Report 3. It is available on the internet, just to learn something small, to know what happened in South Africa and how corporate governance has helped corporations to survive past apartheid. In Uganda, we've got the Institute of Corporate Governance that helps us in guiding corporations on how they should be run and managed, especially those that are listed on the stock market. That's why we have got now some trusts in some major corporations, especially those that are listed on the stock market. So there are always corporate governance guidelines we must follow in order to protect these corporations. So I'm referring you to class notes to do some reading. And I'm saying the workbook has been prepared in line with the requirements of the syllabus. Therefore, this is your assignment to read about governance from your workbook. When you read about the King Report, that is for your own information. But for the sake of the exam, you will need to look at the workbook, what I have presented under governance, such that you wait for your 8 marks. And when you look at past papers from November 2019 to December 2025, question 1, part E or D, the last word is the end there. You'll be able to see some questions that have appeared under governance. And you realize they are good questions that can help us move forward. Last sitting, if we go back here, they wanted the roles and responsibilities of using non-executive directors. 8 marks. That was December 2025. That was 8 marks, was good marks. Out of 50, you're left with 42. We wonder why people fail. Yet these things, I talk about them. So I've so far given you 2 assignments. The first assignment is to populate this table. The second assignment is for you to go to past papers, to go to your workbook and read about governance as a topic. And you'll be able to find there what the examiner requires or what the syllabus requires under governance. And more so, you go to the past papers to see what questions have been presented on governance since November 2019. That examiner is indirectly still around. The one who has been there since 2019 up to around 2024. But I think in 2025, the examiner was changed, but the other examiner is still there in the system. So it is important you look at those questions. That is your assignment 2. Assignment 3, at level 3, all questions, question 1, question 2, question 3, as I conclude, they will require you to write a report whether you like it or not. And therefore, I'm giving you chance to learn how to write a report. This is the template I'm providing to you on how to write a report. There is a case here as a senior financial advisor to the managing director of Kinyara Sugar Limited. Prepare a report or memo on the effects of COVID-19 to the financial performance of the company. If you are writing a report, you begin with a title. The title should come from the case or the requirement. The effects of COVID-19 to the financial performance of KSL. Whom are you writing this report to? The case will tell you, in this case, the managing director. Who is writing? The report is from who? The case will tell you it is from the senior financial advisor. Never put your name there. If the case doesn't tell you a title, you will assume any title. Date, you will put the exam date. And don't reach the exam and write the exam date. Maria, have you heard? Then you start with the introduction. You do brief introduction. And then you start answering. If it is 1A, you answer. 1B, you answer. When you are done, you do a conclusion. Never sign the report. The day you sign it, you will be disqualified. If you have any annexes or appendices or workings, you attach them, either as working 1, working 2, especially where you had some calculations. That is a report for you for the sake of this exam. But a better report will be presented to you when you are doing integration of knowledge. But you might be required to write a memo. A memo does not start with a title. You will need to start or begin by addressing it to the managing director. From who? Senior finance advisor. Then you will put the exam date. Then the subject will be from the case. You do a brief introduction. Then you start answering those questions. 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Conclude etc. However, there is a note. The examiner has confirmed that the report will take a memo form. Even though he requires you to write a report, we don't, since we are doing a manual paper, we don't do a proper report. And the examiner is saying it will take a memo format. Even though he says write a report. Have I been understood? Have I been understood?
Yes, sir.
Understood.
You want to take a screenshot of this because there's some homework I'm going to give you right now.
I have taken a screenshot.
Can you share on the group? And thereafter, since you have taken a screenshot, that is the homework. Can you take that screenshot of that homework? The homework says, write a report to the chief executive officer, and you answer those questions.
Is this done? We are doing handwritten.
Yes.
Hey.
You handwrite, you present your work next weekend. I told you, do not get tired. You're saying, I warned you. This is advanced level. And don't type.
Sir.
You handwritten. If you are in a beam, you will scan your work and send it to my email. The gentleman from Abim, have you heard?
Yes, Professor.
Don't put it on the bus. I'm not going to go to the bus park.
I'll scan and send.
Yes, behave like a professional. Not these things to Liambalengule. No. Be a professional. So, Maria, have you taken a screenshot of this? Of this case?
Sir, I have.
I think this marks the end. My email address is there. Don't say I did not give you my email address. For us, we are in business. Maria, have you taken a screenshot of my email address? Don't
I
put your
have.
working on the bus, please. I will not talk about ethics now. We shall start from there when we meet again. We shall continue with ethics. Of course, I will repeat to emphasize a few points under governance. When we meet again, I will recap on governance. There are other things I've not talked about. But that will be our major topic when we meet again. And in that spirit, I will talk about even ethics, whether you are ethical. And we shall begin by defining what ethics is all about and whether some people are ethical. And then we shall emphasize the ethical areas. The syllabus requires you to understand key ethical areas like money laundering, corruption, inside dealing, conflict of interest, bribery, fraud, and environmental sustainability management. Unless you have a question, this is my last slide. Any comment? 2 hours since we started. Any comment? Any questions?
Good morning, sir. Can I get the email again?
Next question. The lady who was asked about the email, you are talking when you are fearing. Why fearing?
Thank you. I've seen it.
Any other question? Can someone make a comment and then we get a closing prayer? Or can we have a vote of thanks from anyone? Can someone give us a vote of thanks or any comment? And we get a closing prayer.
Thank you, Professor. I can take the vote of thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
On behalf of the students, CPA 15, my name is Ian Ampumza, and I would like to thank you for your time, Professor, and for this insightful session. And I ask the students to join me and give Professor an applause. If you can text in chat, thank you very much. And we say, God bless you.
Amen. Doreen, can you give us a closing prayer? Yes, Rodin, you're asking a question?
No, it was a mistake. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to give us a closing prayer or Doreen is ready?
I can give us a closing prayer.
Go ahead.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you for this day. We thank you for the very first class we've had for this course unit. We thank you for everything we're going to learn. We ask for understanding. We ask for focus. We ask for commitment. We ask for the strength. We also ask for the understanding of everyone around us as we do this paper. We pray that we may form the right relationships, the right groups that are required of us to excel in this paper. We bless you, Heavenly Father, for our lecturer. We thank you for all the work he's going to do for us in enabling us to excel. In the mighty name of Jesus, I prayed.
Amen.
Amen.
The class has ended. Go home in peace.
Thank you.
We meet next weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good weekend.
You too.
And please vote.